We're gonna look up some lore for World of Warcraft. I'm really excited for this one. And we're of course doing some other stuff, but this is going to be starting with a one-on-one with Mr. Worldcraft himself. Sorry, World of Warcraft himself, Chris Metzen, who was the head of the narrative department of Blizzard Studios for a very long time, and for the best times of World of Warcraft and original Warcraft and so on. Like it's like literally the best times where the story was hard hitting. It was about war. It was about this. It was about orcs and humans, and it had the sauce and the hype. Yeah, exactly. You're still so burnt. Well, I can tell you one thing, Siron. Have you played any Dragonflight? Because I can definitely understand feeling burnt. BFA into Shadowlands was the worst, in my opinion, that Warcraft ever was. Like, the worst. It was the worst. I was super burnt. You haven't played since BFA. Yeah, I was in the same boat. I played Shadowlands. I was burnt even more. You survived WoD. Yeah, exactly. BFA killed you. Yeah. I can tell you one thing. So, Dragonflight came out. And Dragonflight's gameplay is top notch. The actual talent trees that your characters have and stuff, it gives you real choice. It has a lot of nuance. There's a lot of different things. Every level feels special. All kinds of really good customization for your various classes and everything. So good, man. So good. And the gameplay's so good. The questing in the world, BC, you mean TBC? Oh, much better, much better than TBC. Oh god, yeah, no. Well, Warcraft talent trees are crazy good. They're really really crazy good now. The and the gameplay was really good. The quest design was really good. It had really interesting little hidden areas in the world, which we hadn't really had much of since Wrath of the Lich King, right? And I played beta throughout the Lich King completely massively, Saran. So I was used to that era. And when what's it called? Cataclysm came out, it broke me, and I quit playing World of Warcraft for a very long time after that game came out, the Cataclysm expansion. And the downside though, and the raids are cool, the dungeons are cool, everything is really cool for Dragonflight. However, the story was boring. The story for Dragonflight was the one thing that really held it back. And the fact that it came after Shadowlands, which was just so shit. In an infinite number of ways. So, Dragonflight had a lot of issues to still go through and so on, to bring people back. And the narrative was one of the biggest ones. The narrative was absolutely one of the biggest ones. It's much more about the random characters finding friendship and stuff, and that's the big thing. And they're dealing with all kinds of emotional issues and stuff, which is fine. But that was all the narration was. That was all the story was. And it was dude, where the fuck is my Warcraft? Where is my orcs and humans and fighting and some hard hitting shit? And then after all that happened, Saran, that's when Chris Metzen came back. And so I'm thinking that the War Within will fix the narrative side and, really make an interesting story again for us. And that's what I'm hoping for, because the gameplay is there. The gameplay for World of Warcraft is actually good. Deadweight, you were asking, is worth getting into? Yeah, I think so. Because also remember, with World of Warcraft, you have 7 different ways to play World of Warcraft right now. You have, normal retail, which is Dragonflight at this point, but the new expansion is coming out in days. Literally, what is it, 4 days or something? It's crazy. I am not ready. For it. But you have that, but you also have, the original classic, which everyone is playing a lot of, and it's has incredibly high numbers. Very, very full servers. People are going through the actual original classic like crazy. I love original classic. It's still my favorite version of World of Warcraft ever. Then you have hardcore, which is like you have one life, your character dies, it's gone, which adds a new, different level of nuance to it. And then you have like the Cataclysm server, which is like the classic, with expansions. So there is that as well. I'm not really into Cataclysm. I still need to play it at some point. And I will, but it's like not super high on my list. I just did make the promise to you guys that I would play through all of Cataclysm at some point. So it's there. It's there. I will do it someday. And then you also have Season of Discovery, which is original classic with a whole bunch of extra shit stuffed in. Like new abilities, new this, new character thingies, new dungeons, new raids. It feels like almost, we talked a little bit about in here, a thing called Classic Plus, which is an idea that people have been throwing around for a very long time. Because there's a lot of cut content from the original vanilla, and people were wondering what if Blizzard put that back in the game and made its own game mode. And so Season Discovery is almost a little bit like that, but it's still like a seasonal type of deal, which holds a lot of people back from playing it. I'm one of them, because it's like you're gonna lose all of your stuff in seasonal servers anyways. So it kind of hurts the progression for me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. But Season Discovery was still very fun, and I will play through the rest of it at some point. We'll get through the entire thing at some point. But there's a lot of different ways to play World of Warcraft, which is kind of one of its biggest strengths right now. Yeah, exactly. So on that note, guys, let's talk to the OG, the top tier man, Metzen himself. This guy is considered the godfather for many big reasons of Warcraft. I'm very excited. About this. He's a great guy. Fantastic creator. Fantastic director of some of the best eras of World of Warcraft. And I want to see what he's cooking. Because the World Soul Saga is like his baby. Like, it was like his stuff. It has his mark on it for sure. Dragonflight, he came in too late for that. But this is where he came in. So let's see what Chris Metzen has to say. The World Soul Saga.
I didn't think Zerglings, morphing into orcs would work, but
no, I didn't either.
It's been a privilege working on
what?
Zergorks.
Hi,
Zerg
I'm Scott
orcs?
Johnson, the host of the World of Warcraft podcast, The Instance, and today I'm sitting here with Chris Metzen. Chris,
Scott.
All right.
Good to see you, man.
good to see you.
This guy's like pure passion.
I'm feeling pretty good. It's a crazy time. We're about to launch The War Within and, really kick off
still crazy.
this massive World Soul Saga, which
9
is a
days.
trip because, I haven't shipped a video game in, 8 or 9 years. So it's kind of wild going through this.
It's wild because it's been 8 or 9 years since World of Warcraft has been good. So yeah, that sounds about right, Chris Metzen. Yeah, don't worry. I know it's been 8 or 9 years. I know. Well, actually, let me look up. What was the last thing that Chris Metzen was a part of? What was the last part of World of Warcraft? What was... I'm just going to Google that. What was the last expansion Metzen did? Yep. Mists of Pandaria. Yep. That's why Pandaland, Mists of Pandaria is so positively looked upon. That was the last one he was a part of. Sounds about right. Yeah.
This process again and just kind of feeling that anticipation, excited to see what people think and when the product finally gets into
I want to
people's
move my
hands.
head because my head is too big.
It's one of my favorite parts of the whole
Don't want to cover up
development process.
Metzen.
Well, let me ask you this question, because
Okay.
you reminded me of how long this has been going. I remember firing up the World of Warcraft OG vanilla
man.
World of
Me
Warcraft,
too.
and seeing a trailer that said,
Oh, man.
celebrating 10 years of Warcraft. And I remember then thinking,
You gotta be kidding me.
That's
Yep.
insane. That's how long I've been playing these games.
Who here started in the original Warcraft days? Because, guys, I'm old, and I started in original Warcraft 1. Played Warcraft 1, played Warcraft 2, and I wasn't even good at those games all the way back then. And Warcraft 2 I was much better at. And then Warcraft 3 was when I really hit my stride. And I was like, dude, I was so into Warcraft 3. Warcraft 3 custom games, the Frozen Throne expansion, all of that. And then, all of a sudden, 10 years have passed and World of Warcraft comes out. Which is crazy, dude. Which is crazy. Original Burning Crusade? Yeah, man. Absolutely. Absolutely. I started Warcraft, World of Warcraft in beta. Like literally, I was one of the rare people that got into the beta of Warcraft. I don't even remember how actually. I just like got a key. I don't know if it was a friend I knew or what, but like I honestly don't remember how I got into the beta. Like, I don't know if I lied on an application for it or what. Like, I have no clue, guys. But I do know that I am and was and always will be willing to say or do whatever I need to get into some of these betas. Like, that's just without a doubt. So, what I did, I don't remember. But I got into the beta somehow, and I was playing it before the game came out. So, I knew it was going to be a banger from minute one, man. I was like, holy shit. Like, dude, there were so many, like, oh my god, you guys don't even know. I don't think NDA matters anymore, right, guys, from original beta. But original beta of, and original, like, alphas and stuff, of OG Warcraft, like, before vanilla came out, it was the beta days, they had, like, so many wacky mechanics in there. Like, you know how the pet system works, in Warcraft right now, like, original vanilla? Where you have like the pet points and like you have talent points and stuff. That was not only for pets, guys. That was for us as well. Like we could give ourselves more armor or more this or more that. And it was like much more of akin to feel to like the original other MMOs, like the really, really hard ones. And then they decided to simplify it with the talent trees and so on. But like we were about to not have that. We were about to have like a leveling system that was much more broad, like much more broad and much more hardcore, which, you know, I think we would have liked, but also it wouldn't have made World of Warcraft the runaway success it was, because World of Warcraft became the runaway success because it simplified a whole bunch of things and became the very accessible game. And which is funny because like you look at, you know, how easy the leveling process is now in any other, you know, subsequent version of Warcraft. It's infinitely easier, and it's like the gold standard to make leveling a joke in MMOs now, which is a very weird concept. But yeah, anyways, that's a little diatribe.
And now we're 20
Memory
years
lane
on top of that, 30 years total. That has to be a little overwhelming, especially given that you were here for most of that, had a bit of a break, now you're back.
I think you
Does that
needed
weigh
it.
on you? Do you feel the heat from the time? Like, how do you feel about how that entire process?
This is a good question. I always wondered.
I don't feel kind of heat or like the weight of time, you know, relative to expectation. It's really
Metzen
weird,
isn't
you know,
that
being
old.
A little older, a little wiser. Feels like 100 years ago. Feels like 5 minutes ago, all at the same time. So when I look at this World Soul Saga, the stuff we're building right now, thankfully there's an immediate...
Because, like, correct me if I'm wrong, Metzen is only 50, right? Like, I'm pretty sure Metzen is only 50.
Immediacy of it all to me. It's just, we live and die by, you know, how good, you know, the things we're sculpting in real time is. Trying to hold it all in your head, the weight of the past, you know, it's kind of beyond me. I can't really
You want to
wrap
spend
my
some
head
time
around,
level grinding?
like, all the history.
Dude, I agree with you, Minta. Leveling is my favorite part of any MMO. Like, I love it when the leveling system is hard. Like, it's straight up, like, that's my favorite time. It really, really is. Absolutely. You understand the convenience, though? Yeah, he looks 50. No, you look, he is 50. Yeah, exactly. He honestly doesn't really look 50. He looks like he looks good for his age, for sure.
All at once.
I'm glad he
There's
looks
kids
healthy.
Graduating college right now named Jaina and Anduin. It's like, what?
Nice.
I often find it's not all that helpful to overdwell on, you know, in the course of development. You want to keep it focused on what you're doing at the time. So that's how I try and balance it out. One day I'm sure I'll look back and go, wow. Working on this game again has really given me more of an immediate sense of gratification that just kind of keeps you focused in the moment. And that's generally, you know, where my head is at on a day-to-day basis.
When you mentioned people naming their kids after characters that you created, that you named, and that you developed and saw grow and evolve and everything. Something that's interesting about War Within so far, to me, is we're seeing the gang kind of back together in a much more complete way. So
we needed the gang back together. That's what we were missing, man. Like, dude, who cares about all of the random Dragonflight characters doing random dragon shit. And like, you know, the the entire first part of the storyline was us like waking up dragonstones. Why? No reason. Like, why do we need to wake these fucking dragonstones up? Who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares? There was no like real central strong characters holding the story together besides like, you know, Alex Straza, and that's like pretty much it. Yeah, I mean, well, no, I said besides Alex Straza, Akko. I know you have a hard on for Alex Straza. That's totally fair. Dude, also they nerfed Alex Straza's looks, man. Like, what the fuck? She's nowhere near as hot as she used to be. Rathion, yeah, Rathion is one of the good characters for sure. But even that, like they did Rathion very weird in Dragonflight. Like the Rathion in Dragonflight is not the Rathion from like the original expansions that he showed up in Link of the Night. He's not that level of character anymore. He really isn't. And it's because of how the writing became in Dragonflight. And like, yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. And Watcher, welcome, buddy. Good to see you.
Seeing Anduin talking to Thrall with Jaina nearby, and Khadgar, my favorite worst wizard of all time, but I love him.
He is.
He's there. They're
He
all
really
there.
is the worst wizard of all
And
time, isn't he?
What that tells me is that we're in for some coming together of a lot of strings, a lot of stuff that has been out there for 20 years that will finally converge in some meaningful ways. Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
I will pause. I hate pausing so much, but I want to say the most recent animations, we've already seen the shift in narrative because of Metzen. This is Metzen's touch. Like, look at the newest cinematics, of which we've pretty much seen almost all of them live on here and on. I haven't really been able to put them up on YouTube yet, but I will. But the shift in narrative is like focused more on people and what they actually want to do, why they want to do it, what their actual arcs are, what they're going through, what they're trying to do, what they're pushing through, their struggles, their actual abilities, their way forward, the things that they'll do to fight. You know, like actual actions. It's that's one thing I was really missing in Dragonflight, man. Like none of the characters did shit. Like really, they didn't do shit, man.
I'll break it down. When I came back, I'm like, all right, let's go.
It's
World of
so good
Warcraft.
to see the
Like,
shift
what do we
narrative.
got? What are we making? And they were in, they had already been doing War Within, or what would become, War Within
Okay.
for about 10 months. While I liked what they were building and thought it was a cool next chapter.
It was dog
in
shit.
WoW. In my head, I'm like, for the 20th anniversary
It was
of
dog
WoW, like,
shit.
I want to have a feeling, like whatever the product becomes, I want to have a feeling of pulling all the toys out of the toy box, right?
Yeah.
Like older
Yeah.
characters, the kind of macro themes that, the series has been
Exactly.
about all these years, Titans, Old Gods, Light and Dark. I wanted to feel
Light
like
and Dark,
the
look at
anniversary
that.
was capturing
The original
like this
story.
kind of mix of all of the core flavors. And
Heroes
ultimately
and real
proofing out
villains.
that there has been this storyline all the way through, that everything kind of converges into this crescendo. And in a very real way, how the War Within was shaping up, they're like, yeah, dude, like there's no way on earth, right? That that's going to divert the course of Mighty Rivers. There's no way to get that done on top of what we're already in production on. So that begat this idea of a larger saga. I'm like, okay, well, what if we can get there in X number of steps?
Yeah.
What if we can build to something just
I liken Chris Metzen to Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige is why the Infinity Saga succeeded as a saga. 24 movies all building together into one large storyline. That takes a level of vision that is very, very hard to find in people. Someone who really cares about every single thread, whether it's major or minor, and how it builds into a larger narrative. These types of things are kind of lost on a lot of makers of stories, whether it's media of movies or shows or games or whatever these days. You honestly thought Wrath was the best? Yeah, Wrath was really good. Yeah, Wrath was really good. And Chris Metzen is that for Warcraft. He's the one with the vision. He's the one that, is able to make these things come together into larger storylines that we really do appreciate, that have like actual points, that have like a real story behind it.
ridiculous, but it might take a couple expansions to do. And somehow folks, bought in on it. Like, whoa, that's wild. Let's go.
Yeah.
And so Taryn Gregory and I, Taryn's our principal story developer. So we work together every day, and we talk.
I have
lot
no idea
about,
who he
like,
is.
We want to involve all these epic characters, but like when they're in the scene, they eat all the oxygen, and they could just go off and solve for X. So it's this balance between including all these mega characters and then finding clever ways to get them out of the way, so that the player has maximum agency, and the newer characters we're introducing have space to breathe and live.
It sounds like it was almost an advantage to come to something that had already been started. If you'd come to the end of Dragonflight and started from there, that's a little big. It's a bigger buy. It's like, well, wait a minute, where are we going now? We've been flying. Okay, what does that mean? What do we do? And instead, you were presented with some beginnings, and then you got to decide where those beginnings took you.
And vector it a little bit. The trick to, after all these years, creative direction, which even today, I don't know that
Wrath
I could
was amazing, yeah.
do a thesis on.
Wrath was special.
Creative direction is as unique as the person doing it and the chemistry of the team that you're working with. But kind of finding that balance again of having strong ideas and kind of saying, like, I want to go this way, right? But the team had already been, kind of constructing this thing. So it's a mix of maximizing kind of the things that they are most passionate about, the ideas that they're kind of dug in on, and finding a way to bend everything towards a singular purpose, but boosting their sense of ownership.
So when you got up on stage at Blizzard...
So, I'm a little worried now. That means that a lot of the War Within was it doesn't have Metzen's, major touch. Like, he has a hand in all of it, but a lot of it was written before he got there, which means that the beginning of the War Within chat might be a little boring. It might be a little. It might take a little bit to get into the story. Just wanted to toss that out to you guys. Yeah, okay. I was a little worried about that, but if it is what it is, then it is what it is.
Con, it was pretty magical for players. I can say that for myself and a lot of people that I know.
The fact that we didn't have BlitzCon last year sucked.
As a return to something.
Or is it this year? Whatever.
I think we're coming off an excellent expansion in Dragonflight, but you got up and did something that surprised everybody, which was, we're not doing the normal, here comes the next expansion, here are the features, here's the storyline in its basic way. We are going to do a trilogy of essentially games.
Right.
You spoke a lot about bringing, tying up some loose ends, but also creating a saga that is 3 parts, at least, and setting up really the next...
This is a big risk for Blizzard, by the way. They want people, Blizzard wants people to buy in for the next 3 games. Basically, it's saying, it's Metzen and, Warcraft as a whole, and Blizzard as a whole, saying, guys, you need to know that it may be a little bit of an issue for the War Within, but we're going to right the ship and make like a really epic storyline over 3 games. That's a big risk. That's a big risk because gamers are like, very impatient. They're quite impatient. So whether this will work or not, I'm not entirely sure. But I think it's a very interesting idea. I'm willing to give Metzen some serious slack to create something special. But I don't know how many other gamers are. So we'll see. We'll see. And Bearded, welcome, my friend.
20 years of the game, perhaps. That's very different than what any of you have done up to this point. Mm-hmm. Did that present unique challenges to the way you wanted to create story, the way you wanted your characters to progress, these sorts of things?
Yeah, it created all sorts of complexities. Under the hood a little bit, it's interesting in how, when I came back on the team, the development process and even the conceptualizing process, like where does the expansion take place? What are the main themes? What's the focus? Really had become much more democratized, right? And people were, had kind of found their voice in the balance of all the special teams that comprise the World of Warcraft.
Ever hear the term "too many cooks in the kitchen"?
They'd really built the vision of Dragonflight together.
Might be a big issue there.
So as I came back in, woohoo! And there were folks going like, "Oh wow, how is this going to change our dynamic?"
Oh boy!
In terms of being a creative director, like, will we still have a voice? Will we still have stakes in how this all shapes out? So like I was saying earlier, kind of learning that again and learning that balance again and coming in as
So yeah,
creative
the
director,
major
be like,
creative
I'm not here to
forces
be,
behind Dragonflight are behind
hyper-prescriptive,
most of the War Within.
with everything, as I might
Sounds
have
about
been
right.
as a younger dude. But like really listening for the team's instincts. Like what are they responding to? What do they want to build? What do the artists want to make? What are they imagining in terms of that pure vision? So
In-game cutscene,
on
yeah,
top of that,
exactly.
the
We watched that
complexity
on
of, I mean,
on stream, Aku.
I don't think this gives up the ghost.
It was
on anything.
insane.
Like we're building 3 of these at a time. This is, yeah, I'll say it. It's insane.
territory,
It's
isn't it?
insane,
It is
right?
insane.
On top of the
They needed to
team,
do it,
you know,
though.
over a year ago, having committed to like an 8-week cadence.
Yeah.
So these folks are, we are moving
exactly.
so fast, you know, and so the difference here is, you know, guys like Taryn and I have to map out where we're going like way ahead of the caravan, which is its own really interesting kind of work,
Yeah.
right? You know, checking in.
It's
everybody, does this
complicated.
feel cool? Everybody hip, you know? I want to make sure that we're building things that, you know, not only, again, my instinct feels are cool and fun, but that the team is proud to build and that they feel they have a voice in and, you know, can express themselves through where the story's going, what the ideas are. We're already mapping out, whatever, 13.1 and 13.2 and how they actually play out and connect, and it's wild. But in a way, you get to step back and see a far more cohesive vision and a far more refined idea over
Okay.
time. So
This is good. This is
and
good.
Without
Hopefully.
spilling any beans, it's like, we're already talking about, the next few, post, upwards of like 17, and it's just keeping the conveyor
geez.
belt going. It's like we're loud and clear.
I mean, I said it before, I'll say it again. I think it's kind of wild that like the stories become so convoluted and complicated. I think we should have WoW 2. I really do. I think we need to start from like a blank slate at some point, like 1,000 years down the road or something. Orcs and humans are just fighting again. That would be nice. Like, I don't know. Maybe we need to go back to some more simplistic times. Just in general. Like I'm definitely, I'm bought into the World Soul Saga. I think it sounds pretty cool. I really do want it. I'm going to, be locked in for it for sure. But like after that, like dude, I don't know, man. Like I think the World Soul Saga is a really good place to end World of Warcraft storyline and then start WoW 2. Like I really do think so. Put it in Unreal Engine. Yeah, put it in not the dog shit engine that it's in. Whatever it is. If they want to use Unreal, if they want to use whatever. Yeah, exactly. Are you going to be playing it launch day? I'm going to be trying to. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, Aku. I'll try. I'll try my best to.
The fans want more content.
I haven't bought the expansion
more
yet.
regularly. So, in a way, just
I need
staying
to.
ahead of that curve and making sure that everything
Money's
again,
tight.
is of purpose and telling this much longer
There'll be
story.
Twitch drops, yeah.
It's been a blast.
Launch day is mass,
the
it really is.
The pure creative on Warcraft, for the past year and a half has been, how would I put it, over such a long span of time. I want to say it's one of the most nuclear creative phases I've seen for Warcraft. But the pace is wild, right? Like the pace is wild, and it's like I ain't 30 anymore, so we joke around all the time, like, we need to start instituting, company naps in the middle of the afternoon.
Company naps.
For the old folks. But
He's 50. Oh my
is-
god, he's not
it
like
has been
70. Jesus.
pretty amazing.
That's a great way of thinking about it. Speaking of personal connections to characters and story, somebody
just beta
close
testers
to you,
for the
who I
launch?
think is a very wise human, once
Yeah.
said
I'm not a big fan of that.
online somewhere that Chris is Anduin in some ways, kind of worn out, beaten up by a straight period of like nonstop work, right? But also on the other end of it, he's a little bit back to being Thrall again. And those two characters represent these two parts of who this person is. How much
No, wrong. Metzen, I mean, the Thrall part is correct. But the other part is, guys, you don't remember. Metzen is not only the voice of Thrall, he's also the voice of fucking Varian Wrynn. Screw Anduin, man. Anduin does nothing but complain. Varian Wrynn, the original badass. That is Metzen. Metzen does that voice. And he wrote that character. Like, that is why Varian Wrynn is such a good character.
of these characters moving forward or even in the past have represented you where you were in your life. Like some people say, well, the early versions of these characters are they were so metal. Like
Hell
even
yeah.
Tauren chieftains, they look like
Hell
these
yeah.
metal dudes and everything. And now they're aging, right? They're maturing. They're moving on in the world, like you are, like everyone who's worked on this does. Like that's time. Do you think that's a fair thing to say, that we'll see these characters?
Is he just calling him old? Bro, you look older than him. Come on, man.
Change and
What is
evolve in the
this?
same way that maybe you have, and they're kind of your avatar.
What is this?
Yeah, no, I know where you're going. So there's kind of an A and a B.
Mordecai's
there.
expansion?
The
That'd be
B,
cool.
Which is easier, is certainly we want to push these characters forward. We want to show some aging. We are currently doing that. But yeah, we talk about that a lot. There are many new characters over the arc of the saga that we don't want to be just one-off. We want them to be,
Sinister.
pals and
How's that going, my friend?
working together to solve these big problems. But certainly the characters that have been around a while, we're trying to kind of find a way to like capture that age up, not necessarily age out, but like, okay, so in that cinematic at BlizzCon, they went in and put like gray streaks in Thrall's hair. I'm like,
Yep.
oh,
It looked great.
That was weird.
it got me.
That
It's
was
like,
weird.
Whoa.
Thrall
And just
going
Anduin
gray,
just
that makes
staring
no
you down.
sense.
It's like our little boys all grows up,
Yeah.
it's
You feel for him. You're supposed to feel for him, right?
which was the point. But just the idea that these characters are moving through their own continuum and progressing and moving through stuff, like, what a trip, looking back from where we started to the point where these are fairly fully realized characters within this setting. And it's just incredibly satisfying that way to see that progression. And certainly us as storytellers, as people, as we, it's not necessarily, it is certainly getting older, but it's also just experience over time. Big life moments, becoming parents, finding love, finding your career, all these big kind of life, hurdles. It's like, I tell folks all the time, like, don't be afraid to pour yourself into this stuff. Even when you're like, oh God, will the people down the hall dig it? Will I be judged? Like, yes, probably.
Just do
but
it,
the answer
baby.
is you're an artist. Go get it.
Hell yeah.
Right? Find your truth. Because often when we're
This is true.
pulling from
This
a
is
place
true.
of like deeply personal experience, someone's going to feel that on the other end of the line. As you're
Passion will always be something we will all respond to. Always. Like literally always. Passion is king. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Because like I really do think that passion is the real important thing for a lot of these storylines. If the writer is passionate, if they're all in, if they're completely bought in, I think that is one of the most important things. Like period, full stop. If you know what I mean. I got you, Sinister. Lots of love, buddy. That is a hard thing you're going through, man. We're always here for you, buddy. Always sending you our best.
playing the game, it's like some of those themes that really matter. Whether you're a writer, quest designer, narrative folks, cinematics, like the game design, like everyone kind of pours themselves into their craft, and the more genuine that is, and I think sometimes the more risk you take, I think you get more genuinely affecting content. I think people feel that they feel you in it one way or another. There are many themes embedded in the World Soul Saga, evidenced by different characters, that are very pointedly things that I think
I want to
today,
see people
or I'm
with raw
struggling with
emotions.
today, for sure.
Exactly,
But again,
for sure.
I think about it in terms
100%.
of like as the team's creative leader. That's not the job as much. I often think the job is like trying to learn to call them out, and challenge them to kind of breathe their own experience into it, as opposed to pouring my own in. So it's a balance.
I assume that's
It is a balance.
Over time, you have a character.
What he's good
stick
at.
with
He's
Thrall
good
for a
at
minute.
this.
He's, probably the most well-known of the Chris Metzen. Certainly voice him. So
Until
people
they
didn't
find
know that.
somebody.
Thrall
Until they
the
find
War
somebody better.
Chief.
Maybe you'll age out of it. I don't know.
Oh man.
We're getting there.
Welcome,
but no,
lunatic.
That you've breathed enough life into that character and given them enough direction over so much time that I have to think in a lot of cases they start to run on their own gas. And while I'm not asking you to tell me if there's any tragedy coming at all, we're not even suggesting it here.
I have a kill list.
Do you?
I've got my top 12 characters. Like they're all going.
Why is
God. Well, that's one way to thin out the herd, man. They're talking about having too many like overpowered characters. Just kill half of them. I mean, shit. That would be one way to deal with it. Oh my God. Yeah, exactly, Lunatic. Not yet. Not yet. We'll see what happens in the future.
Khadgar at the top of the list. I kid. I love Khadgar.
There's no kill list.
All
Bring
right,
back Varian, man.
But you know what I mean. You might
Bring
find yourself
back
going,
Varian.
well, it might be time for character X to take a character dive.
So there's no.
That's
I'm
a really
kidding,
weird
there's no
way to
kill
look
list,
at it, honestly.
Necessarily.
I don't
But
agree
we
with
do
that.
talk about this stuff all the time, and the only when you talk about this stuff all the time, and the only when you start talking about knocking.
Oh yeah,
off
we're
main
talking about killing off
characters,
main characters.
It's
Yeah.
not a small thing.
That would be
And
one way to do
usually
it.
That is in service to in the general story you're developing.
Yeah.
If you really need to punctuate, dramatic stakes, the easiest thing to do is ask Lucas blow up a planet, or knock off a main character.
That's actually why Thanos was seen as such a good villain. The beginning of Infinity War, he kills Loki. He fights the Hulk to a standstill. Literally fisticuffs, just like punches out the Hulk. Like, it was crazy. That's how you knew it was real. That's how you knew it was real, man. Like, as soon as that scene happened in Infinity War, like, do you guys know Infinity War at all? Like, that was when I knew that this movie was not screwing around. Like, you were like, okay, all right, anyone can die at any time. That looked real for Loki, and it was. But, like, it also looked real. Like, it was like, okay, I don't think there's, like, some trick where, it's another Loki clone or whatever dying only or whatever. Spoilers? Yeah, exactly. Spoilers for Infinity War from, like, 7 years ago. Oh, my God. So
Tyrion
mean.
Fordling, for example.
Tyrion.
Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
I remember that.
I'm still gripping on that one.
Yeah, that was rough.
Tyrion Fordring. That was
No pressure.
That was a hard
I'm just
one.
saying, it was a rough moment.
No pressure.
Hey, thank you for the
so
lurks, Harry.
we do talk about it from time to time.
Hell yeah.
But we try and frame it with the greatest gravity possible, and trying to be clear that this franchise has another 20 years in it. It's this big ongoing idea, and
Yeah.
losing critical characters is costly. So it's we talk about it from time to time.
I only like it when they make it a point. Like, when they do it for a reason. There have been some deaths where you see the death for a character and you're like, why? What did this do? And I don't know if you guys watch the Marvel shows at all, but the what was it called? The Secret War? The Marvel I think it was called Secret Wars. It was so bad. The one with the Skrulls, and they just kill off Maria Hill in the most inglorious, idiotic way possible. And you're just like, why? Like, there was actually no point to that. Actually no point to that. Like, oh my god. Nursing School, hell yeah, Millionaire. Good for you, buddy. We've been playing everything, my friend. Literally every single game, genre, period. So whatever genre you like, my friend, I'll tell you whatever genre. We've been playing everything, buddy. Little bit of everything. You know how we do.
I won't tell you we won't lose anybody over the arc of the saga. Those types of moments are all about establishing stakes and that emotional, engagement from the player ultimately. So,
Does it help populate the World Soul Saga as a creative place to know that over the last few years, while you were gone for much of it, the team has made a real effort or a priority out of having allied races discovered in the world that players can not only unlock but then be and might prefer over the originals or whatever. Like, this additional diversity for choice seems like a really potent way to fill your world
Yes.
with more interesting characterization rather than just, well, it's orcs and humans and a few others.
yeah.
This
I
is
love
a
it.
W.
Just old school D&D and all the
The more, like, I think that the only reason we had in original Warcraft, we only had orcs, humans, night elves, dwarves, gnomes, and the Tauren and trolls and so on, is because of the limitations at the time. Like, that is the only reason. There's no other reason to limit the amount of characters and classes and everything like that. Like, you want to have as many as possible. So yeah, absolutely, this was only a limitation, and a limit due to limitations. Like, the fact that we have blood trolls now or whatever, and so on and so forth. You have the mechanomes and all that. Like, this is only a good thing. Like, we want to have as many of these different races, sub races, and so on and so forth as possible, because they're all cool. You can always add a new character that is, going to do something different. I think that is one ways that Warcraft has actually expanded itself in a positive way. And, you know, I might get some hate from people who hate the Vulpera and so on. And sure, yeah, there are some missteps. I'm not a big fan of the Vulpera myself, but in general, it's a pretty positive thing.
These options on, you know, player expression, what kind of, you know, what culture you want to be from. I love that kind of stuff. So opening that up, especially like, you know, Battle for Azeroth and, you know, the inclusion of all these new silhouettes and flavors or whatever, I thought was awesome, actually. And even the ones I didn't think I would play, I wound up, you know, I rolled a Vulpera hunter. And then
I
consistently
just
dress
talked
him
about
like
the
Robin
Vulpera.
Hood from the
Look
old
at that.
Disney movie. So it's like,
Oh my God.
actually really dig a lot of the flavors that have been added over time. Like it's in my opinion,
That's funny.
The water's warm, everybody in the pool, you know, I think WoW can stretch and grow to, you know, encapsulate all of these flavors. I think giving, you know, players more options,
I agree.
more
I completely
visual
agree.
options is awesome. At the end of the day, I think, you know, erring on the side of, you know, player choice, player agency is the right move. Like, why you're playing this game in the first place, right? When you imprint, especially when it's your character, when you imprint on a look or a vibe or, you know, like a.
And also, MMOs are all about creating our own story. That's why we vibed with Classic so much. Classic compared to retail, especially in the Shadowlands times, the Dark times, the Empire. It was really like. Classic gave us the broadest brush to paint and create our own stories with, because the world was harsh. It was hard to survive. It had more nuance. You had the ability to do things like, you know, different leveling. You had the ability to go through entire epic quest lines that span continents in original World of Warcraft. That is something that's lost. Like, we haven't done a continent-spanning quest in ages in retail. Like, when was the last like continent spanning like epic quest, guys? I don't think I really know of one. Like, even in Dragonflight we didn't really have one. We had some that, you know, took us to different zones and stuff, but like nothing that brought us back to like the old world, you know, took us back to like Duskwood for some reason to talk to a specific character for a specific thing. Like, there's none of that anymore. And I think that was a big thing that we loved in Classic and really missed. Like, I remember all of the epic storylines from World of Warcraft, from OG, vanilla World of Warcraft. Making Varrigan's Fist the hammer for the paladin, the class quest for the warrior where you make like the blood mail and stuff, the whirlwind axe. Whirlwind, you know, everyone went for the axe. I actually went for the sword. I like the sword. I like the look of the sword, but you know, everyone went for the axe anyways, because of the DPS, of course. But yeah, like all of those things, those are really cool, man. Those are really cool. I really miss epic quests like that. And Deadweight, welcome back, buddy.
That you connect with, it's like, go get it.
So let's bring it full circle to what is imminent, which is the war within.
Yes.
Players have a lot of expectations. Some of it is based on just excitement.
Let's see it.
Because there is a 3-part saga coming. They're not used to that. There's a whole new structure to this.
Yeah.
So what would you say to players who are pins and needles about this next expansion, the start of the big grand story?
As we were talking about earlier, we've never been in a situation where we've shaped the whole giddy up, you know, all at once. So there's the adventure component of the War Within, and then there's the max level campaign, and then there's the, you know, the subsequent patches, and it's all been designed to kind of play out over time. You have narrative threads and sinews, kind of, you know, linking everything together.
He gets it. He really gets it, guys.
I think it's off the hook.
I think that's clear.
At the end of the day, I would want people to remember it is still only, however, part one of a much, you know, a much larger narrative. And I would want people to look at it that way. You know, it's meant to rise and, you know, crescendo with its own max level campaign.
Right.
Will I be expected to walk in Quest 1 and yank the sword from the planet?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I would say to that, I'm glad you brought that up. Actually, the sword, the resolution of the sword that we started with at BlizzCon.
The one that we forgot about.
Actually, that's a 13 thing. We're going to build to that, and it's a doozy.
One does not simply yank a sword from Azeroth.
I would even say you are not prepared for that moment, and leave it at that. But
Illidan. He's talking about Illidan, guys. It's going to be an Illidan thing. Okay, this dude, Metzen is a master, man. He can say one word and we get hyped. One word. That's crazy, man. Yeah, I mean, Deadweight, that's the power of passion. So for anyone watching from YouTube, what is happening right now is Deadweight doesn't even play World of Warcraft, and he's talking about the way Metzen describes it has so much passion, and it means so much already. As someone who doesn't know, exactly, that is my exact point, Deadweight, and that's how Metzen wrote all of the story for this entire series, Deadweight. That is exactly how. Absolutely. Another business expense? Yeah, exactly, Deadweight. Exactly. Oh my lord.
It is a 13 issue.
That's me.
Ultimately, things like Xalatath, we've been doing a lot of work to kind of build her up.
Yeah.
As a very different kind of villain. She is
having her show
not
up in the
like a
shadows
Deathwing type, villain where just he's
seducting
flying and burning
and
everything,
messing with people's minds. It's cool. It's really
where
cool.
The storyline ends.
I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, but I do like
in such a way
it.
that we're gonna be confronted by her and face her multiple times over the arc of the saga.
Right.
So it's not going to be this one and done.
Hell
type,
yeah,
like,
Kleewalk.
she's the raid boss. She's meant to, kind of weave in and out.
I can link you to the YouTube if you want as well, Kleewalk.
That's something I would say.
For 7 days.
But definitely the sword thing.
I did a lot of
head.
it.
Like certain of these themes are
Gameplay
built
included.
to play out over time. So I hope people are into that. I hope they're into a longer form engagement. Because in a way,
it is a
so many
risk.
of our
Like I said,
expectations kind of,
it is a risk.
Crystallize around like, well, wait a minute, I didn't get the full meal I was expecting in 11.0. It's not built to be that.
Right.
It's built to be part one. So buckle up. The ride will be.
That might be that we have like a what's it called ending, cliffhanger ending at the end of the expansion, which will be weird. Actually, Aku, have we ever had a full cliffhanger ending after an expansion? I don't think we have. Like, not a full cliffhanger. Like, we've had like things that go from one part to the next part. And like a little bit of a bridge and you have something to look forward to. But like a full-on cliffhanger, I think this might be our first really full-on cliffhanger.
Hope insane.
Sort of at the end of BFA. Yeah, and then they abandoned it. Yeah, exactly.
That promise.
That's fair.
The 20th
That's fair, actually.
anniversary of World of Warcraft. Like,
it's a good point.
I want this saga to feel like it is just the perfect crescendo of 20 years of storytelling, as we said at BlizzCon.
Yeah, there is a sense that we are fulfilling something.
Yes.
The 20 years came and will end this November. I guess November's launch, right? Yeah,
yep.
20-year anniversary will be this November.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And there is a feeling, I can tell you from the player side, of really coming to something special.
Yeah.
And I know that puts pressure on the team when players collectively have an idea that they think should happen, and then the team's like, well, we're kind of going a different way. But I don't know that I've felt this much positive feedback in a long time about just where things are headed. And nobody says that about a 20-year-old property usually. Usually we're like,
there's not a lot of precedent we have,
yeah.
right? Like that's the same contiguous project. There's plenty of game series run for 20 years, no question. But like, it is honestly a blessing and often sometimes a hindrance. Just
Legion, not BFA, Legion.
The sheer volume of all of these details.
God, Legion was so good. Legion was a good expansion. Like that was a good ass expansion.
Poor Sean
that
Copeland,
ending,
just trying to keep it all,
Illidan and everything. Oh man.
But it is also its principal strength, particularly because it's an MMO and a video game, because you've lived these moments. You didn't just passively watch. You didn't just, read a book or watch a movie.
That's the beauty of gaming. You're in the story,
and there are stakes. So as complex as it is to try and push the world forward without breaking everything that came before, which is its own kind of challenge. It's a very noble challenge, right? It's a privilege to, read a book or watch a movie.
Right.
You've lived these moments and they matter.
This is the pleasure of gaming.
So as complex
you
as it
are
is
the
to
story.
try and
You
push
are
the
the
world
story
forward without breaking everything that came before, which is its own kind of challenge. It's a very noble challenge, right? It's a privilege to tread water in this complexity of this setting.
I actually think this sentence right here is the smartest. I mean, he's a smart guy. He said a lot of smart things, but I think this is the smartest thing he said. because for this reason, this is the reason that gaming is my favorite type of media ever. Like, I don't know about you guys, like, we're a lot of gamers here, so we're obviously going to be a little biased, but I think that's why gaming is the best media. Because we do develop our own story. And I think that's pretty cool. Like, do you guys agree with me? Like, what do you guys think? What is your favorite form of media? And if you're wondering about this from YouTube, what do you guys think? Like, I think that's what makes gaming unique. Because you are making the story along with the makers of whatever game you're in. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's really, really cool.
After all of these years, it's amazing that it's still
Yeah.
the same stakes. It's still the same world that you've always
Well,
known.
there's a future I see where you're, reclining in some sort of chair,
With the blanket over my
blanket
knees,
over your
sitting by a
knees,
fire,
keeping you warm, and you're looking back and you're thinking,
telling kids to stay off my
Wow.
lawn.
Get off my
They're all
lawn!
in their haptic suits playing whatever version of WoW they have, and looking back at Grandpa's accomplishments, and I think
Yeah.
it looks like something to be pretty proud of already. Well, I, for one,
Absolutely.
could not be more excited about this next expansion and the entirety of the World Soul Saga, and I think you and your team should be proud, and I wish you guys nothing but luck in the next few weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much, Scott. It was good fun.
The deep look. The deep look, man. It's the man look, man. Dude, I love it, man. I think this is great. What do you guys think of this interview? If you're watching this from YouTube, let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. You know what I think, guys? I would go so far as to say that this makes me more comfortable for the War Within than I was from anything else. Like, this is what is really exciting me about the War Within. I think that's really, really, really cool. And I'm very, very excited. I think Chris Metzen is going to do a great job. I'm here for the entire time, and I'm really, really hoping that it goes well. I think it will. I think it will. Like, this gives me what he was saying. He really has it. He has the sauce still, guys. He has the sauce. He really does, in my opinion. The absolute GOAT, guys. The absolute GOAT. I can't wait. I can't wait. Like, I'm actually excited for the War Within now, man. Like, this is... Dude, we can have, like, so many different, like, discussions and this and that and what have you, and, like, trailers and whatever. But this is what actually got me really excited. I might have to download... not download. I might have to buy the expansion tonight. Oh, God. That's so expensive. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you like this video, like this discussion, give it a like, give it a sub, share it with your friends, and comment what your favorite part was. Are you a believer in Metzen the King? Are you, as you can tell, I am. I'm a little biased, but I'm very honest about my biases. Do you guys think that War Within will be a W expansion? I would love to hear your thoughts. What are you most excited for or least excited for in the upcoming story? The thing I'm least excited for is the fact that, a lot of the story was written before Metzen got there. I'm a little worried about that. The thing I'm most excited for is that Metzen did have a hand in steering the discussion, steering the writing, the narrative of the game, and it might lead to something truly special. I'm super ultra giga hyped, yeah, I think we have to day one play it, guys. I think we have no choice but to day one play it. I think we have no choice. One thing I love about WoW is no matter how bad the expansions are, the music is all spot on. That's true. Yeah, that's true.